flat earth is on repeat. Most flat earthers reuse garbage they have found on other flat earthers channels. And they have some favorite topics. Today I will have a look at one of many: Navy, naval technique, submarines, warships, and weapon and navigation system. According to Flurfs, all of those things proves the flat earth. And some of them even have guests, of course anonymous, that claims that they have been in the US Navy, the Canadian Navy, and so on, and that all systems point to the fact that Earth is flat. But do this have any bearing with reality? I will look into that today. So, let's start the video.
Did you know that submarines prove the Earth is flat? They use sonar and bounce it off of other objects, similar to the way radar is used. A submarine near the ocean floor can find other submarines 100 miles away by bouncing that sonar and getting the return back. That's not possible on a globe because there would be a mile of Earth, a mountain, a mile high between them and the other submarine.
On a submarine you have passive and active sonars. He's talking about active. And first of all, they are not used so much by submarines because when you're sending a signal, you're revealing your own location. So a passive is that you're only listening, you don't sending any signals. And the range, as other signals, they can bounce, so you can go around the curvature. But the real range of military sonars on submarines and so on is classified, but it's in no way proof of a flat earth. FTFE have served on submarines, so I'm quite sure that he can give a better explanation of this than me.
Similarly, battleships also can, with a laser, pinpoint target other ships 100 miles away. And we all know lasers don't go through water. There would be a mountain of water over a mile high between two objects on a globe.
And he lacks all the basic knowledge about the subject. Yes, we are using lasers in the Navy, but let's read from a report to the US Congress on this subject. And as you see here about limitations, it's line of sight. It can't go over the horizon. So the range is limited by how high they have the laser. And atmospheric conditions and so on is also a problem. I will link this document in the description of this video.
Radar also shows that the Earth is not a globe. I was watching a video recently of a gentleman that used to be a fighter pilot discussing this in detail. As always, any comments or questions, let me know.
In reality, if you ask a fighter pilot how to avoid radar, the answer is fly low and fast. Ships, the radar is placed as high up as possible. And it's not only radars on ships that are placed as high up as possible. The reason for that is that this type of radars have a horizon. There are radars that can see over the horizon, for instance this one. Now we move on to markksargent, that in a older show or live show had a person call himself a military expert. Let's listen to a part of that one.
This guy, basically reached out and says, "Look, I'm in the military, and I might be able to help prove the Earth is not a globe, not a sphere, could be flat, and he's got stuff to back it up." So it is my personal pleasure to introduce an active member of the United States Navy. His name is Robert. He is a NATO Sea Sparrow, and correct me as I'm doing this, NATO Sea Sparrow Surface Missile System Instructor.
Surface missile system, there are no such thing. The Sea Sparrow is a surface-to-air missile. It to shoot down airplanes and missiles. And it's a short-range system. It have an operational range of about 10 nautical miles, close to 19 kilometers.
He's a master training specialist, and he's here, tonight to confirm three things, for this movement. One is, from everything he has observed during the last tour, there is nothing, absolutely no curvature to the Earth that he can determine. Two, there is no Coriolis effect taken into account with the ranged weapon systems he has been working with over the years.
He have worked, if he have, with a short-range system. That system you claim that his instructor is short-range, 10 nautical miles. It's a missile, it flies, and it have an active targeting system with radars and other things. They don't have to calculate with Coriolis on that type of short-range systems.
Three, the navigation systems currently being used by the United States Navy on the high seas, when you compare them to basic trigonometry, and he'll break it down for you, seem to be completely wrong.
First of all, complete nonsense. Secondly, this so-called soldier is a weapon systems expert according to Mark. He have nothing to do on the bridge. He don't work at all with navigation. So why would he know anything about navigation on a big warship?
And there's many other points besides that, and wow, I'm just blown away that he is here. Robert, are you there with us?
I am, Mark.
Fantastic. Well, do this for us, Robert. Let's get your credentials out of the way, and let's start from the beginning. When did you first enter the United States Navy?
I entered back in 2006 in June, right out of high school.
Cool.
And went to boot camp shortly after that, in the middle of June.
Okay.
And after I finished my basic training, I went on to my A school, which was a pretty standard electronics course that dealt with a lot of basic troubleshooting, maintaining, repairing, whatnot. And that was out of Great Lakes, Illinois. And after that, I went on to my C school, which was more specified to a weapon system. As you said before, I work on NATO Sea Sparrow surface missile system.
Did you hear? He called it a surface missile system. That's the wrong term. It's a surface-to-air missile. And someone working with this and being an instructor wouldn't call it a surface missile system.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, after that training, I was stationed on board the one of the amphibious assault ships at the time, where I did 5 years on board and worked with the system day in, day out.
And this was the Iwo Jima?
Yes, this was LHD-7 USS Iwo Jima.
So this is the ship he claims that he have served on. And the crew is almost 1,100 soldiers. And this is the weapon systems they have, all short-range systems. The longest is the one he was working on, with a range of 10 nautical miles. I will move a bit forward in this dumpster fire, so let's hear some more from this so-called sailor.
The biggest thing that was really the turning point for me, personally, was one argument was brought forward that I could not ignore anymore, and the biggest one that it was the fact that when we look up at the night sky, we're supposedly a spherical Earth orbiting, the sun at 93 million miles away, where we take an orbit pattern of 350 million miles.
Yep.
And we never see any constellations in the sky merge across each other. There's no parallax shift.
So that's the biggest reason for him to be a flat earther. I thought it would something to do with his so-called military experience.
It's okay.
For anyone that doesn't know, max observable distance, roughly, for the horizon out to sea is about 15 to 18 nautical miles, depending upon humidity and dew point and all of that. Okay. I've actually been outside with binoculars, with high-powered telescopic devices. We have access to certain things like that. And as a ship is perceived to be dropping below the quote-unquote horizon, all you got to do is zoom in on it, and all of a sudden, poof, the bottom of the ship where it meets the water is back in observance again. This doesn't add up, because at 15 nautical miles, there's several feet to be dropped around a curved Earth.
The beam of the ship is 31 meters, so let's look here. Perhaps it's about 18 meters to that deck from sea level. With standard refraction, about 7 meters would be hidden if you were at that height and it was 15 kilometers to the subject you're looking at. But why didn't he use equipment that he had? For instance, the radar system for his missiles could measure the distance to objects very precise, but he did use simple optics. Oh dear.
Tell us a little bit about the Sea Sparrow surface missile system as far as how it tracks. So you're illuminating the target, correct, with that system?
Yes, and this is actually something that anyone can look up online. You can go to Wikipedia and look this up yourself.
We're not giving away classified information here. This is fully something.
They have whole pages about this. But basically, the way our system works is we're an 8 missile launcher, and we have other subsystems that basically allow us to produce RF, or radio frequency, that we illuminate any target with, whether it be a threat or not. And that's how we track. It's by direct line of sight. And specifically, our fire control radar, we actually use a 2-degree pencil beam. It's very, very tight beam, so there's very little room for deviation on that, and it's a direct line of sight radar.
Okay.
And we're able to track targets up to 50 nautical miles away, and on a curved Earth, that just doesn't add up.
The Sea Sparrow and the REM-116 SAM missiles that they have on this ship are using this radar, ANSPS-48. It have a range of 250 nautical miles on an altitude of 100,000 feet. So what is he talking about? They are capable of tracking objects, airplanes, missiles on a much greater distance than 50 nautical miles.
Is our computer on how we actually, solve the fire control problem, how we, go in and actually put a missile on a target. And that computer was basically retrofitted from a Norwegian tank. And it was built specifically for that tank, and it was just repurposed later on for obviously this system. But if you look at it, any tank is actually built upon a planar model. It's built on an X and a Y coordinate system for like artillery shots.
Wrong. Tanks are not artillery.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, I mean, when that gets repurposed to a missile system, and we have much further range than obviously a tank does on being able to effectively put a missile on a target,
Yeah.
you would think that we would have to account for the curvature of the world, because it's got to be able to maintain a proper course to get to the target.
This is RIM 7 Sea Sparrow, the latest version that was introduced in the 1990s. The missile have a programmable autopilot. It's equipped with the radar and different systems, and from this version and onwards they can fire ballistically, so they can have a longer range than before. I don't know about his story about the computer and Norwegian tanks, as he called them, but in some way it would make some sense, because if it's artillery he's talking about, it's also firing ballistically. The ship he claims that they have served on is a typical naval ship, and it's designed for a globe. If you look at the radar antennas, radio system, radio antennas, GPS antennas, all are placed as high up on the ship as possible because of the Earth's curvature. His and markksargent's nonsense goes on for a long time, but I will not force you to listen to more rubbish. This is obvious that markksargent and taboo conspiracy and so on, they have so-called military servicemen on their videos. They are always anonymous and they never prove anything but the stupidity of flat Earth. Okay, that was all I had for you to this time. I hope you liked it. I will be back soon. Bye.